Welcome. We will start tonight's meeting as we always do by saying we acknowledge the Arapaho, Ute, and Cheyenne tribes, the traditional custodians of the land on which the Police Oversight Panel and Boulder Police Department operate, and pay our respects to their elders past and present. And I want to welcome any members of the public who have joined us today. Looks like we have a few. And anyone who may be covering this for a media outlet tonight. We really do appreciate your participation. Welcome you to this meeting. And of course, later on this evening, we will have open public comment. I'd also like to welcome all of our panel members this evening and to thank everyone for being here. I want to acknowledge it's a challenging time for many reasons all across the world, to hold space for that, and just thank you all for showing up, being present for this important work for our community, members of the public, members of the press, members of the panel, independent monitor, Jose, as our representative from the police department. Thank you all for being here.
And Cindy too for our.
Cindy, sorry, I'm going through I'm swiping through the gallery. And Cindy, thank you for being here to take our notes for us this evening as well. Members of the public, just a technical matter. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, there is a Q&A that's open this evening. And Victor, I was going to check. Victor, are you up for monitoring the Q&A again today?
Yep, I got it.
Awesome, cool. So yes, members of the public, feel free to use the Q&A. We will not be checking the chat. We want to keep it all in one area. So we know what's going on, and so Victor can address any questions that you have. I also want to let the public know how to submit a complaint and contact the panel outside of these meetings. So first of all, if you do have a complaint against the Boulder Police Department, our web address is bouldercolorado.gov/services/police-oversight. And that is where you can file a complaint or find a phone number, as well as Joey's email to contact the panel for any other reason. We are working on getting a dedicated email address for the panel set up, and we will have that posted to the website as soon as we have that in hand. Next up, just going to read through our agenda for this evening. So we are going to, with any luck, we are going to finalize and adopt our bylaws finally as a panel. We're going to go through the public feedback tonight. We're also going to revisit our committee reports. Our main report tonight is from the Community Outreach and Communications Committee. Then we will have our report from Joey, the independent monitor, including an update on our annual report, which is coming out this month, a report on outcome of our case reviews, past case reviews, and our monthly case statistics. And then we will go into our panel selection of case reviews of newly filed complaints. And then we will be open for public comment. And of course, we'll take a quick break right around 7:30, like we always do, to go be human beings for a minute and come back. And otherwise, panel, I'll open it up. Any questions, comments, concerns before we jump into the bylaws again? Cool beans.
No, thank you. Happy to be here.
Thanks, Taisha. Give me 1 second to pull up my screen and share it with y'all. I'm going to share my bylaws screen with everyone. But what we're going to do, I will read out the feedback on our bylaws just one at a time. And then I'm just going to open the floor for discussion. And then if anyone has any motions to change the bylaws, to further discussion, to table it, we'll move on from there. But we will just start with one by one going through the feedback and opening it for discussion. So comment A. This is specifically on section 1.1. Oh, wait, I should just review for members of the public. So we did close our official review of the bylaws about, let's say, a week ago. Thank you for everyone who offered feedback. And so that's what we're going through tonight. I will also note some of the feedback that we won't talk about tonight. There were two comments that we got through the website that appeared to be complaints. And so Joey is actually following up with both those. And then we also received, which I'll talk about at the end, a little bit of feedback that is in addressing the ordinance and not so much our bylaws. And so I'll just talk about that real quick at the end. But then what I also want to state, of course, this is not an end to feedback on the police panel, the police oversight panel's bylaws. At any time, we can amend these bylaws as a panel. And so any future comments, feedback that we get from the public will be considered, can be submitted through our contact information on our website. We just want to, of course, get the bylaws approved so we can start using them. And that, of course, means changing them as we go forward and as we need. So for the first feedback tonight that we received, section 1.1, it states native land territory and people acknowledgement does not belong in this document. I understand it provides some quotes, feel good for those drafting it, but since it has nothing to do with the oversight panel, the inclusion is unwarranted. As a side note, if City Council truly wanted to make an impact related to this topic, they would place all city land in the tribe's ownership and lease it back. That is comment A. And I'll open that up for discussion with the panel.
What I would say is heard, but the panel decided to put it in. And as there is no negative to having it in, I think we should just keep it in. But commentary heard.
I second and second. Thank you, sir. This is Taisha. Thank you, Sarah.
I will say that although I agree with the sentiment, I do remember that that was an important piece for Sasha, who was one of the founding panel people who's no longer with us, and it was important to her to get it in there. So I would support that, keeping it in for how she incorporated it.
And I'd be open for tribal consultation on this as well.
Taisha, that's a really good point. And that's just a second to make a note on that. To follow.
But I do think that there is a connection to the disproportion of policing of Indigenous peoples since the stealing of the land. So thus making this panel, a pathway. And I hope that when we do the applications that is, a stakeholder group that is interested in serving in this way, so that we can really have as much diverse representation of those who have stewarded these lands from thousands of years to those who are still here today and those who are walking with us now. So those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Do any panel members want to make a motion to change 1.1? Oh, Chico, I see you unmuted.
Yeah, I think I don't have any problems with leaving it in. And what's the harm? I mean, the only thing I could ask, or maybe, is that do other panels outside this, what we are doing, also adopt similar pledges? If they do, what's
I can provide a
the
little.
heartache over this?
So I can tell you the city is working as a whole to try to provide some common language for all the panels and committees and boards to use. They haven't finalized that yet. So this may sort of be a placeholder for once the city does finalize that, and then we'll get some consistent language that all the other panels and boards and commissions are using, and then we can come back and update it if you all choose to do that.
And Chico, I think when we were doing our research for the bylaws, I think there was only one other example, and I forget now who it was, but we all had only found one other example of a panel or a board engaged in police oversight, including a land territory acknowledgement. If there aren't any other comments from the panel, I think we can move on to our next piece of feedback. So this is comment B, and it is talking about section 1.2B. Will foster systematic change, leads one to believe it's a foregone conclusion, changes are necessary. I feel this section should be more along the lines of ... ensure or enhance the integrity and trust of the department / community relationship.
Sorry, can you repeat the language proposed?
Absolutely, yeah. Section 1.2B, ... will foster systematic change, ... leads one to believe it's a foregone conclusion, changes are necessary. I feel this section should be more along the lines of ... ensure or enhance the integrity and trust of the department / community relationship.
That implies that everything's going well right now. I move to find that.
Sorry,
Like,
can you say that again?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Can you say that again, Sarah? You cut out.
Well, I moved to decline the language that was
I
proposed.
second that with Taisha.
Thank you, Taisha, for the second. So we will do all hands up from the panel. If you agree, we should not alter this language. Technically, I don't think we need to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a majority. Thank you, Ariel. I see you. Martha, I see your hand. Great. Then we'll move on to comment C. This is in regard to section 4.3A. Excuse the scroll. Anonymity of the complainant. I would suggest not accepting anonymous complaints. However, my guess is that will not be an option in your eyes, so I will lessen the statement where these complaints will be given the same credence and care. Anonymous complaints, in my opinion, should not be given the same credence as one where a person is willing to stand behind their complaint. This is an issue with society as a whole now, and the ability for complaints and comments to be made anonymously via electronic means. This unduly unfairly places the recipients of the complaints in a position to defend the allegations without any context.
Just from following what the contributor is saying, it reminds me of the importance of whistleblower laws. Why do we have them in the first place? Otherwise, everything would have been open, and that's where things like retaliation comes in. So some people have to be protected. So being that anonymity is part of the system. So I propose we decline what the contributor wanted.
Second.
I agree, Chico. Thank you, Sarah, for the second. So if everyone wants to show hands for declining this comment. I see Martha, I see you, Taisha, Chico, Sarah, and that's a majority. Thank you. Comment D, our last comment. this does not specify any particular section in the bylaws. When I was at one of the early meetings for the police oversight panel, I spoke with a young woman who had been sexually assaulted and later tried to file a complaint with the Boulder Police Department about how she was treated by one of their officers. But the Boulder Police Department refused to take the complaint. So admittedly, without me having read the bylaws, I request that there be a process for the Oversight Board or some other non-police entity to accept complaints directly, since the police department can't be trusted to accept complaints. And so I will say, so at the moment, our complaint process as laid out by the ordinance is that complaints go to the Office of the Independent Monitor. And as a reminder, the Office of the Independent Monitor is not a part of the Boulder Police Department. It is independent jurisdiction. I left this in here because I wasn't entirely sure. I'm interested in other people's feedback, but I think this change would have to go through the ordinance and would not be something we could do with our bylaws. But I wanted to open it up for discussion.
Is there potential loophole here in which case, when a complaint goes to Joey, which I assume is a form, I've actually never looked. It actually CCs the alias to the panel so that there is a duplicate copy. Would that require any ordinance changes?
No, I don't think so.
I'll comment to what you said just before too, Sarah. Many of our complaints do come through the website, but we also get a lot of complaints verbally over the phone, that sort of thing. That's actually, we'll talk about it later, but that's something Joy and I are talking about, how to get us a full transcript of those complaints, that sort of thing. But yeah, maybe Joy, if that is a process that we can be CC'd on all initial complaints is
Yeah, we can, whatever you all tell me, like sort of at what pace you want them. If they come in directly to me when they're online and filed, or through, if someone calls the police department, it may get transmitted to me as like a document or something, but I can either forward those to you all as soon as they come in, or you could tell me, we want these, on, every Friday night, send whatever's come in during the week. However you want me to distribute those to you, but you obviously have access to those as a part of the case files. So if you want those a little earlier in the process, that's totally fine. That can absolutely be done.
And I think the specific feedback here was that it was not taken. I don't know what to do with that. I feel like I want to give that commenter some way to resubmit it, but I don't know how we would get, I don't know if we have a record of who that commenter was and we can reach out to them.
Yeah, and maybe the answer to that is, if this person is listening, or I think we could even get in touch with them if there is an instance where the Boulder Police Department did not take a complaint. They can file the complaint directly with the Office of the Independent Monitor, directly with us through our website, the instructions above. So actually, I can follow up with them directly and ask them to submit their complaint through our complaint process. I'm just making a note to myself to do that.
Or the email when we get it.
Right, yeah. There it is. As far as making a change to the bylaws, sorry, I'm just scrolling through. Do we want to make, so the question in front of the panel, do we want to make a change to the bylaws now in accordance with this comment? Our other option is we can pass this off to the governance committee to bring us back an amendment, an official amendment at our next meeting as well. Thoughts?
I move we pass it off to the governance for a process change versus a bylaws change.
I second that.
All in favor, hands up. Martha, thank you. Victor, Chico, Sarah, thank you. Taisha, that's majority. I'm making a note. I'll follow up with Hadassah, Chair of Governance. Okay, that's all of the feedback we got from the public. There is one other matter with the bylaws that came up with our with discussions around our outreach. Give me just a second to find it in the This is compelling civic work, y'all, finding the committees section live in our bylaws. Where did you go? Give me just a sec. Panel structure 2.5. So in the course of discussing chairs and co-chairs, here it is. Taisha had an idea, and I think I heard back from Hadassah, she thought it was a great idea as well as chair of governance to go ahead and combine the governance committee and the education and orientation committee. One, just to help bolster the numbers of the committee to help get the work done. But as Taisha pointed out, most is the wrong words. Many panels and boards assign education responsibilities, training responsibilities to the governance committee. Taisha, did you have anything to add to that? Sorry, you're here. I don't need to speak for you.
No, no worries. Thank you. I would say that for the education committee, I was thinking it was education for the panelists, not education for the community, which would go under community outreach and communications. So I just wanted to make that clarification. So maybe it's ongoing education or something, or I don't know, something like that, so that it's more specific to the panelists. So, all of the trainings and that component, which is so critical to this work. Thank you.
Thanks, Taisha. Any other thoughts, concerns? And we can redraft that now, I think would be pretty easy before we approve. Okay, so I'm going to redraft this before putting it into a motion. Okay. Sorry, let me just make sure. Okay. Boom, take a look at that. Any thoughts, any further changes? Any issue with that? Okay, so in that case, super exciting. I move that the panel adopt these bylaws. Can I get a second?
I second this, Taisha.
Thank you, Taisha. Hands up to adopt these bylaws. Oh, and that's a majority. Thank you all. This was a process for sure. Thank you all so much for your work on these. Thank you to all the members of the public who offered your feedback. I do want to reiterate, this is a living document. This panel is always open to hearing further feedback, further comment on these bylaws. I will just scroll to the bottom here. We have part of these bylaws is an amendment process, a pretty straightforward one. So we will work this document until it does what it needs to do for our community and this panel. Cool. Oh, thank goodness, y'all. Now also means I can officially pass this work off to Hadassah as our chair of governance.
And thanks for your leadership. You have been pushing this forward daily, weekly, through the months. So thank you a lot, Daniel.
Thank you, Sarah.
I echo that's congratulations and thank you to Dan for the leadership, and it's just been a Herculean effort, and and already, you know, the next generation of panels are benefiting from the incredible lift, and it was really the leadership. So thank you so much, and all the panelists that contributed. Thank you.
Thank you, Taisha. Thanks. And thank you to everyone who contributed, Martha, especially for all the writing you did for us. Hadassah, who's not here, for all the research. It really was a group effort, and I think it was very well done. What I also want to, so just a quick revisit, we got several comments in this review process expressing that the oversight panel should have the power to punish police officers directly or to terminate officers directly. And so the reason why we're not considering that as part of our bylaws is because that's not power or authority that's granted to the oversight panel through the ordinance. And so I wanted to acknowledge that we had received that comment. I don't want to, you know, just disregard it, but I do want to make a note, especially for members of the public who are here, that the ordinance is the overarching governing document of this panel. The bylaws are meant to fill in, you know, the gaps, the procedures, any additional information the panel needs to conduct its business under the authority that City Council has given us through the ordinance. And so that's one of those recommendations that we can't implement directly within our authority, and would be a matter that would need to go to City Council and be reflected in the law. Otherwise, thanks again for all the feedback. We'll look out for more. And next up on our agenda are committee reports. And so actually, Taisha, I'll hand it over to you for the Community Outreach and Communications Committee update. And I can actually go ahead and just share my screen if that works for everyone. Give me 1 second.
That'd be great, Daniel. Thank you so much.
I'm on it like a bonnet. There it is. Boom. Taisha, are you able to see that okay too?
I can. Thank you so much. I'm joining from my phone. I want to thank you, thank all the makers of these devices for making this possible. So hello, everybody. Good evening. My name is Taisha Adams. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a member of the Boulder Police Oversight Panel. And I'm also one of the co-chairs for the Community Engagement and Communications Committee. I am joined in the chairship by Victor King. Victor, would you like to come on camera or bring your voice into the space and introduce yourself? And then I'll share a little bit about myself as well, and then we'll go ahead or what we're excited about serving on this panel. Victor?
Sure. Again, my name is Victor King. Longtime Boulder County resident. I bring a lot of lived experience on all sides of homelessness and law enforcement and multiple issues. We're really looking forward to having ways for communities members to engage and give feedback. And so we're just trying to set all this up as we just finished our bylaws. So we're still in some of the foundational stages of this, but just looking forward to this work.
Awesome. Thank you, Victor. This is Taisha. Oh, the brief overview is just about the police oversight panel is more so just for the external distribution following this meeting, but it provides just a reminder about the creation of the panel by the council, as well as the relationship with the independent entity, as an independent entity supported by the Office of the Independent Police Monitor. And really, the role of the panel being to review completed internal complaint investigations, make recommendations on disposition and discipline for those complaints, and to make policy and training recommendations to the department. Next slide. This is our incredible committee member, the rest of our committee members. So we are joined by our co-chairs of the entire Boulder Police Oversight Panel, Daniel and Ariel. And we are also joined by Sarah Holtz, who serves on another panel as well. So thank you, Sarah, for doing double duty. And we're excited to be hosting public meetings, which will offer opportunities for additional pseudo members, or I'm not sure what it's called, but certainly ways to engage, because our meetings have to be public. So we might as well make them engaging instead of the traditional sit and get. So I'm excited to model some more dynamic and engaging methods for community engagement, as well as model the types of equitable processes where we're co-creating as well as co-implementing as we design what this police oversight panel will look like for our community together. Next slide. So we have a tentative schedule for our plan development. I'm realizing this is one slide before the other, but so we started in January, really just gathering documents and getting our bearings around building on all of the work that the bylaws committee had done by gathering different bylaws and different communication plans were also embedded in those, which really helped to inform the outline that we'll be able to share later this evening. From March, we have our co-chairs and are excited to share our outline with you all tonight. From March to June, we'll be doing a situational analysis. I know that's a scary term. I didn't care for it when I heard it, but we'll unpack that in a moment. But basically, it just means getting our bearings. Then in July, we'll use all of that feedback to update the plan and share it for a public review, integrate that information, and then September present back to the Boulder Police Oversight Panel for a final vote. I would like to open up to the panelists who are, really integrating this, and wanted to say, if you had any initial feedback based on this outline. Obviously, we want to be mindful of the multiple committees that are going on, the fact that we have our own additional training to do as panelists, as well as reviewing, and each of us are dedicated to do at least one, and most of us are doing 2 reviews a month. And so I want to be mindful of that as well, although I do know the public is eager to be more engaged. Any comments?
This is okay with me.
What's that now?
I just said this looks fine. This is okay for me.
Awesome, thank you.
I appreciate
And
I was going to say, Tisha, I appreciate the emphasis on laying the groundwork for this work, knowing as the first panel that we are setting the track for future panels. And so I appreciate this timeline and what you're saying too about getting the public in it, public engagement in as soon as possible, while also making sure we're laying solid groundwork for every future panel that comes.
Thank you, Daniel. And obviously, I don't think that we need to vote on it per se. I'm not sure. I don't know how procedural we need to be with our committees, but we can certainly engage more feedback. And we still, amongst our committee, haven't really been able to unpack. And so I wanted to, acknowledge that and, hold space for additional time to unpack if we need to make additional adjustments. And of course, we'll let you all provide any updates next month. Thank you. Next slide. And I know I'm going over my time, so I'll be faster. All right, the proposed process. plan that we used is, or that we're using currently, is document review, and that was, as I said, used to develop this process. The situational analysis, which I'll kind of talk about later. Key stakeholders, identifying those, as well as the audiences we wanted to communicate with. Identifying engagement and community strategies, and then the public comment period that kind of covers with the calendar. Next slide. I just wanted to unpack some of these terms. So situational analysis, because I feel like people just use all these big terms, they never unpack what they are. So basically it's a SWOT analysis, which is the strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats, for those who are familiar with the SWOT analysis. But basically another fancy term is extent data. So what have people have already gathered about the police and policing in Boulder? And those of you who haven't had a chance to see at the Boulder International Film Festival this year, This Is Not Us, which was about the history of policing and Black people in Boulder, which is really incredible. But anywho, to my larger point, we're including films, documentaries, podcasts. I mean, there's a lot of information about, good, bad, ugly, all of it. We want to know the best that has happened and the strengths we can build on. And so we'll identify a variety of different methods. Oh, thank you, Martha, for adding it into the chat box. And then we also think we have an opportunity to leverage inter-committee collaboration with our legacy and education subcommittee for our governance committee. Thank you. Any questions about that or reactions? Basically a needs assessment, lay of the land, lay of the land. All right, next slide. Key stakeholders, basically this is an amalgamation of all of the police oversight communications documents I could find that we could gather, as well as just general, analysis of unpacking the terms, stakeholder and audiences. Elected officials, civic social organizations, public interest groups like the NAACP, staff in other city and county departments. I mean, they really went into the crates with some of these. I was like, oh, I didn't even consider that. Employees, sworn, civilian command. I was like, okay, now. So again, when we're talking about community engagements, we're not playing. And I just am so excited, but I also have to be mindful of bandwidth. And so that's where we really are going to need community support, as well as support from the Boulder Police Oversight. The Boulder Police Department. And of course, the Office of the Independent Monitor. Next slide, or any reactions to this? All right, next slide. All right, outreach and communication strategies. So, these are pretty engagement, your traditional public meetings, forums, town halls, surveys, feedback forums. Again, really a cross section of qualitative and quantitative data and collection, things that you can track and measure over time. Again, we want to model the types of transparency that we want to see of our police department, not just this one, but around the country. And so again, this is where we are excited about having community input. We honor all forms of knowledge and knowledge integration, traditional, experiential, academic. So, if this is your bailiwick, please, public, hear me, organizations, hear me. This is an opportunity for us to show what it can look like to really come together around this. And there are other communities around the country whose shoulders we can stand on, rather. Next slide. Thank you. Participate in upcoming public communication, community engagement, and meetings. So you can email. My email is there. Sorry, we don't know. I did not have the panel email at the time, so I will just navigate that into a shared folder and make sure to get all of that information. We also are collecting additional resources as, everyone has a little piece of the knowledge, and really want to build a beautiful mosaic together. Any general overall comments from the panel? Now you've seen the whole presentation. And again, thank you for my co-chair, Victor, for stepping up and being co-chair with me. I've got a very, very large overflowing plate. And to have a co-chair is just, I mean, so incredibly helpful. And I know you're incredibly busy too. So we'll also be looking for public support as well as, again, support from the Boulder Police Department via finance and human resources. Thank you.
Taisha, just on slide 8, just for my benefit and the benefit of the general public, what do you mean by educational collateral?
Oh, thank you. Sorry about that. Or rather, thank you for that question. Educational collateral, by that I mean one-pagers, flyers, information that we would share with the public if we went to a fair or went to the farmers market, and so that people can learn more about the police oversight panel, how they can submit a complaint, those kinds of things, as well as digital. So, we had some kind of, I don't know, I mean, and again, this is where I need, a communication professional that we pay, a consultant or something. That would be wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions or?
Just a point on the point that you just made. We do have access to the professional communication staff with the city, and they've offered to assist with this whole plan. We did mention last month that we raised the question of scheduling a meeting with the communication staff and the outreach committee. So I think now that we have this foundation, I think that'll be our next step. I can send out an email, get that started, and we can have a meeting with them and start bringing this to life.
Additionally, we when met with Amy, we talked about connecting this committee with the city's community outreach specialists professional. They have a team dedicated to this work as well, and so that seems like a good natural alignment, as well as Taisha, as you've pointed out, a need for resources to support this work as well.
Right. And again, I think I did use the term consultant purposefully, because I do think having an independent voice is important. And so that's where I was asking about fiscal support. Although again, it's more for the communications, it's more of an alignment meeting. It's not a permission meeting kind of thing. So I want to be clear on the optics. Thank you.
Good point, Taisha. Thank you.
Any other comments? Notes panel. Thank you, Taisha. This is amazing. I'm so excited to get to work on it.
Thank you. Thank you all. I was inspired by the bylaws committee, so I had to step it up, y'all. I had to step it up. So you've all raised the bar high.
We've got documents
really
now.
we got documents. We got a document warehouse. Right? Next agenda item. No kidding.
Thanks, Taisha. Martha, I was just going to check in with you if you had anything from the Legacy Committee. No worries otherwise, but I did just want to give you space if you did.
We do not, but we are going to try and have regular meetings scheduled separately, and we now know that we've got to make sure that they're recorded and stick them where they're supposed to go.
Awesome. Thank you, Martha. And as for governance, Hadassah, our chair, couldn't make it tonight because she's on her way to her wedding. But the governance committee is meeting monthly now, and our next monthly meeting, we're going to discuss the addition of the education and training responsibilities. With that, I will hand it over to Joey for the monitor's report.
Great. Thank you all, and congratulations on the bylaws and the outreach plan. That's really exciting. Good work, everyone. There was one comment just now in the chat I just wanted to quickly address. It's in regards to sort of who investigates the complaints. And so just wanted to clarify for that member of the public and anyone else, all the complaints that are filed are investigated by the professional standards unit in the police department. Whether it comes to the monitor or goes directly to the police department. What happens is my role as the monitor is to to monitor those investigations in real time, which means having direct access to all the records that are being created, sitting in and observing and making recommendations during the investigation, during the interviews, excuse me, of the officers, of the complainants, of the witnesses. And then they conclude their investigation and then provide that investigative file to the panel. And then that's where the panel process starts to review the investigation and make a determination. So I just hope that's helpful for the member who, or the member of the public who asked that. Okay, first item. Oh, yeah.
Sorry, Joey, I didn't mean to
Oh.
interrupt, but for fairness sake, since you addressed a member of the community, I do want to recognize that there is a member of the community who is asking lots of questions about ADA. Without starting an open discussion with that particular member of the community, I want you to know that we are taking notes. We see what you're saying. We're acknowledging it. You can have some time to speak at the end, but we are not ignoring you. We see it. So we just wanted to let you know.
And just a quick reminder to members of the public and panel to, if we can get all questions and comments in the Q&A so that they are all in one place, to what Sarah's saying, so that we can keep track of everything that is coming in, and panel members to keep comments to the group open to deliver them through the video channel so that they can be heard, and otherwise only use the chat for direct communications, just so we don't end up with our attention in multiple places. Thank you. I'm sorry about that.
Sorry
Jerry.
to interrupt, Joey.
No, it's fine. I have a hard time following the various messages that are coming in too. So my first item on the monitor's report, just a note that the annual report is in the works. I think if I don't have it to you by the end of the day tomorrow, it'll be in your inbox over the weekend. So, you know, take it. And I also had a good conversation with Daniel in the co-chair meeting. So he's seen sort of an early draft of it last week and gave me some comments and some thoughts, particularly on some of the charts and graphs that I was creating. But you all will get that very soon. Take a couple of days with it. Do a good review of it. See if there's any other sections you want to add to it. Any other kind of charts or graphs that you want me to create, and we'll get that out. I do think the other sort of things that need to happen, Daniel and Ariel will be writing the introductory letter in the report. And so a couple of little pieces to get through, but I'll get you all the draft very soon so I can get your feedback. While I'm on the topic of reports, I did want to share with everyone that after we get this annual report out, I do want to start working on a use of force report for the Boulder Police Department. I think there's been a lot of questions raised recently in the press, and I think it would be helpful for us to do a full examination of the use of force data and put that out to the public. So I'm hoping we can get that out during the summer. I think that's a realistic target. And similar with that, as I start getting some of the preliminary data analysis together for that, I'll start sharing that with all of you, with the panel members, and that'll give you an opportunity to start understanding the data, asking questions of it, telling me what other things you want, so what questions you want to answer with the data, and I can start building that into the report. So my sort of vision for this is sort of a collective effort. I'll do the legwork, but you all tell me sort of what questions you want to see answered by this data, and then we'll get that put together. So just wanted to make the panel aware of that and the public as well. So we had 3 case reviews during the month of February. I'll just go through the summary of the case and the outcomes. First one was MI 2021-051. This case involved an allegation that the complainant's First Amendment rights were violated in June of 2018 when he received a harassment violation for following a demonstrator on the Pearl Street Mall. The violation summons indicated that the reporting party told the officer that 2 males were following him after confronting him about his campaigning and soliciting signatures. Both individuals admitted to the officer that they were following the reporting party and said they were mistaken in believing that they were within their constitutional rights to do so as part of their free speech. The reporting party requested the individuals be issued a summons, and both individuals signed the summons. The complainant in this case is one of the individuals who received the summons. The DA's office indicated that the narrative on the back of the tickets clearly supported probable cause to believe the defendants violated the harassment statute. However, the DA's office concluded that the incident involved political activity by the suspects and victim that implicated the First Amendment and did not appear to rise to the level of a prosecutable crime. The DA's office declined to prosecute that violation. The allegation was classified as a Rule 5 police authority and public trust allegation based on the issuance of the summonses. The investigation found that the officer did not violate any department policy, and the allegation was deemed not sustained by both the panel and the department, the panel committee that reviewed it, as well as the police department. Case MI 2021-045. This case involved an allegation that a detective failed to interview relevant witnesses despite being notified of the witnesses and being provided with their contact information. An investigation found that the detective did not perform in a satisfactory manner, to include interviewing witnesses, suspects, and taking extended amounts of time to review items of evidence. The panel sustained the allegation and recommended a one-day suspension for the detective. The chief of police sustained the allegation against the detective and imposed a one-year letter of reprimand. MI 2021-046. This case involved a complainant that alleged an officer issued an arrest warrant for her, but not against her husband. The officer was provided with evidence of harassment. This charge included a domestic violence enhancement, which is required when harassment occurs between two individuals in an intimate relationship. An investigation found that the officer had sufficient probable cause to apply for the warrant and that such action was required under state law. Both the panel and the chief of police exonerated the officer on the allegation. Or I should say the panel recommended the exoneration and then the chief did actually exonerate it. In terms of our monthly case statistics, we've had 6 complaints and 3 community inquiries in February. So far in March, we've had 1 complaint and 1 community inquiry, and there are currently 18 open investigations that are underway. We do have several cases tonight to review that will be coming up shortly. That is the conclusion of my report, Chair. Thank you.
Thanks, Joey. I'm going to suggest we go ahead and take our 5-minute break now, and we will come back and jump right into the cases to review this week. So I will see everyone back here at 7:30. Thank you very much. Welcome back, everyone. So we are going to jump right back in with voting on case reviews. I wanted to start this off with a quick clarification. It came up in a meeting in a recent article in the news. And so what I wanted to, this is the one part of the police oversight panel that isn't open to the public. We're protecting the confidentiality of the complainants and everyone involved in complaints. And so we review these initial case summaries privately before, as Joey did tonight. Once the investigation is closed, the panel and the chief have made their recommendation. We report those out in our meetings, in our annual report. What we're reviewing tonight are case summaries. These are not summaries of the complaints. And this is important because what it is, we get the information from the complaint as well as any available evidence, initial investigations, analysis of available, some preliminary analysis of body-worn camera footage, and any other salient details that help us to fully understand the situation before this panel decides whether or not to take a case up for review. A recommendation did come up early on, and we're working on it right now, for the panel to receive the full complaints in full in the initial review as well. But speaking for myself, I think the case summaries themselves have several times on reviews that I have done provided information that really did inform the panel as to the seriousness of the problem, but I'm not sure that the complaint alone would have done for us. And so I wanted to express appreciation for the full case summary. We'll be noting this in future public meetings as well, just to be aware of what we're doing right now. But otherwise, unless anyone else has anything else to add, we will jump into those. Yeah, Joey.
Real quick, I just wanted to point out for the benefit of the public that the panel does have the option when they receive a summary to say, actually, we don't feel like we have enough information yet on this one. Let's wait until a little bit more information develops, or ask particular questions that they want answered before making that decision if they don't feel like they have everything in that summary. So that is an option for the panel.
Great. So moving forward, so panel members, what I'm going to do, I will read out the full case number as well as the rule allegation, and then we will do a hands up vote on whether to fully review the case. So if everyone's ready, we're going to start with case number MI 2022-003. And this is a Rule 5 police authority and public trust allegation. Give you all a chance to familiarize yourself again with that summary. And then when you're ready, hands up if you would like the panel to review this case. Thank you. Hands up if you would, oh, thank you, Martha. One. Hands up if you would not like the panel to review this case. I see Chico, I see myself, Sarah, Victor, Taisha, Ariel, thank you. So we will not review case number MI 2022-003. Next up is number MI 2022-004. This is Rule 5 Police Authority and Public Trust. I'll give you a second. When you're ready, hands up if you would like the panel to fully review this case. I see Victor, I see Martha, I see Sarah. I see Ariel, I see Taisha, so that will, great. And hands up if you'd like the panel not to review this case, just for the record. I see Chico, I see myself. The majority has it, we will review MI 2022-004. Next up is MI 2022-005. This is Rule 4, Respect for Others. Give you a second. Hands up, please, if you'd like the panel to review this case. I see myself, I see Victor, I see Sarah, I see Ariel. Thank you. Hands up if you would not like the panel to review this case. I see Chico, I see Martha. I see Taisha. So that's a 4-3 to yes, we will review MI 2022-005. Next up is MI 2022-006. This is Rule 1, Customer Service Value. Give you a second. And hands up if you would like the panel to review this case. Thank you. Hands up if you would not like the panel to review this case. I see Ariel, Martha, Sarah, Victor, myself. Sorry, the screens are all jumping around. Sarah, Taisha, thank you. Victor, we will not review MI 2022-006. Next up is MI 2022-007. This is also a Rule 1 Customer Service Value. Give me a second. And hands up if you would like the panel to review this case. I see myself. I see Martha. I see Ariel. I see Chico. I see Taisha. Thank you. Hands up if you would not like the panel to review this case. I see Sarah. Thank you all. We will review MI 2022-007. Last is SM 2022-002. This is Serious Misconduct Rule 1. Give you a second. Hands up if you would like to review this case. I see myself, I see Sarah, I see Chico. I see Ariel. I see Martha. I see Taisha, I see Victor, which is everyone. Unanimous, yes, we will review SM 2022-002. Joy, did you catch all those? I also noted them as well. Cool. Thank you all. Give me 1 second to close this out. Okay, so next up on our agenda is public comment. So to review how public comment works for us and in this setting, each member of the public who's with us, I see 6 of you, thank you for sticking around with us. We will ask each of you if you'd like to comment, and we'll do that verbally, and we will, Joey will unmute you, so you can get the chance to tell us yes or no. And we will go through each one of you to make sure we don't accidentally miss anyone to a technical glitch, because that happens. The public, members of the public, you will get 2 unimpeded minutes to comment. I'm going to put a stopwatch up on the screen. If there's an interruption or a loss of connection or anything, I will stop the clock and reset. You will get a full 2 minutes. I will also give a verbal notice of time at 20 seconds to the end, just so you know. And then I will ask Joy to mute the feed at 2 minutes so that we hold to that rule. Panel members, you may offer short responses at the end of each comment. Go ahead and just chat me if you would like to offer comment, or else at the end of each one, I'll just ask if anyone has anything to say to respond. But of course, we want to keep this open, and we want to keep this moving. Any questions, comments, concerns? Give me 1 second to share my screen. Tonight's stopwatch is brought to you by Google. Okay, and so I think we will start. Joy, let's start with Darren O'Connor. If Darren, would you like to give comment tonight? And Darren, you may need to unmute yourself.
You're all set, Darren. You just need to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
There
Yes.
it is.
Okay. Thanks, panel members. I was concerned with the bylaws that Boulder Revised Code 2-11-7F on duties and powers of the police oversight panel defines one of your duties to include that the police oversight panel shall evaluate the work of the monitor's office and shall establish criteria by which to evaluate the work of the police monitor. But in the bylaws in section 2.6, the version I saw said that the panel has the authority to evaluate the work of the police monitor, and thus abrogated one of your most important duties, which is to evaluate the work of the police monitor. I don't see how that happened, or why you would choose to do that, and think the public deserves to know why you abrogated a duty. Secondly, I don't know if you're aware that the police monitor that you refer to as the independent police monitor is not independent. He's defined as a police monitor. I would define him as a police lapdog. And I would add, for your information, that he applied for an actual independent monitor position in Denver, where they decided, along with 2 other applicants, to be fair, that he didn't meet whatever criteria they had for an actual independent monitor. So I hope we hear from you about this choice to not fulfill one of your duties. Thank you.
I'll actually take this one. I just want to offer a quick clarifications of how the bylaws work. And so the ordinance is the overall governing document for this panel. And so of course, all powers and duties described, outlined in the ordinance, we cannot alter those with our bylaws. We can fill in the gaps, we can explain procedures, but even if we wanted to limit our powers with our bylaws, we could not do that. We cannot expand our powers. The bylaws are meant as a supplemental document to the ordinance to help us understand and exercise how we provide effective police oversight in accordance with our ordinance. And of course, Boulder should be commended for a rather unique ordinance document, as we've said before, that offers us a unique level of power in this process, as well as a great deal of direction in identifying, of course, this very diverse group of people to carry out this work and to represent marginalized voices in our community. But again, just as a reminder, is that the bylaws are a supplemental document to the ordinance, and all powers and responsibilities outlined in the ordinance are powers and responsibilities this panel will be carrying out and is carrying out. Panel members, anyone else have any follow-up comment?
The only thing that I would say to the members of the public is remember that most of us here are just volunteer citizens, and the difference between has and shall for a lawyer is very different than the difference between has and shall to ordinary citizens. So there was no intent.
Thank you, Sarah. Joy, I think next we'll Anne Guilfoyle, I think, apologies if that's not how your last name is pronounced. And if you would like to unmute yourself, would you like to give comment tonight?
You did a great job pronouncing my name, and I do not have any comments at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you for being here too. Joey, I think next up is Emily Brake. Emily, would you like to give comment this evening? And you may need to unmute yourself as well.
I am fighting a cold. Can you hear my voice?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Thank you. I would just like to put on the realm of consideration of this board. You've been tasked with an incredible duty and honor, and for one that I am thankful that you all have volunteered for. I've volunteered on boards too, and I've even participated in bylaws processes. I know it can be a lot of work. I hope that your time invested in this effort pays off very well. I encourage you and challenge all of you to really keep in mind making sure that all of your, they've got accessibility of your processes and procedures, and ensuring accessibility of the law enforcement in Colorado, in Boulder, the city of Boulder rather, your area, is something that is on your mind. Right now, we have a police department building that is not physically accessible. One of its main departments for the public is not wheelchair accessible. It requires communication through a landline phone. So right out the gate, it's just physically not accessible for a significant percentage of people in the city of Boulder, and it happens to be the same kinds of groups of people that tend to have the least favorable outcomes when interacting with the police. So I just would like to ask that you consider that in your processes and considerations moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Panel members, any follow-up comment?
I would just like to thank Emily for the kind comments, and we do this as a service because just like all community members, we are just as concerned, and we have the same concerns when we see things that are not being done right. So that's why we volunteer to do what we do. And I would urge members of the public that if they do feel aggrieved in any way with the way the panel is operating, or feel that it has limited powers, there is a process in which, for instance, for a start, going through the changing all these ordinances, that's another process. Then the other aspect would be just like Taisha said, we are trying to ramp up community community and communication outreach. So I would urge members of the public to fully get vested in what we are doing. I mean, this is for all of us. It's not just for us panel members. Thank you.
Thanks, Chico. Sarah,
And
did I
as
see
a
you?
member of the, oh, sorry, go ahead. As a member of the community outreach committee, you know, I don't know if it's 100% appropriate, but Emily, I would like to invite you to engage with us more so that we can take up this particular issue that you clearly have very specific examples that you want to get in front of people, and I think this is the appropriate way to do it. Taisha, I hope I didn't break any rules here as the chair of your committee.
I think next up then we have John, I think it's pronounced Herrick. John, if you want to unmute, would you like to give comment this evening?
Hey, sorry, I just accidentally clicked the raise your hand button. I'm not gonna comment tonight, but thank you.
No worries. Thank you, John. Thank you for being here. I think next up then we have Mylene. Mylene, if you want to unmute, would you like to give comment this evening?
Thank you. I don't have any comments for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mylene. Thank you for being here. And I think end of the list, we've got Peter, I believe it's Heisler. Peter, if you want to unmute, would you like to give comment this evening?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Great. Thank you to the panel and to Joy for your time and efforts on finalizing the bylaws and reviewing the case reports. I would just support Darren's comment about the panel's obligation to oversee independent monitor, and I do think that the language in the bylaws is important just because it, you know, it will be governing not only this panel but future panel until it's amended, and I hope that it remains a living document, and you know, that it always is getting closer to reflecting the letter and spirit of the ordinance. So thank you again.
Thank you, Peter. I'm just checking our attendees list. I think that's everyone for this evening. Panelists, any final thoughts, comments, or concerns? And I can stop here. Yeah, Ariel.
Hey, Daniel, this is Ariel speaking. I just wanted to say this is totally unrelated, and I'm sorry I haven't been on screen tonight. I literally landed right as in Denver, right as the meeting started, so have been joining by phone. But I just wanted to publicly give a huge thank you to Daniel. I have had a lot going on personally the last 2 months, and this is why we have 2 co-chairs, and Daniel has been an enormous support, both professionally and personally. And I just want to give a big shout out and say that it's a huge gift to be in this partnership. So thank you.
Thanks, Ariel. Yeah, that's what we're here for. And I hope we're going to do what we can when we can do it, as we can do it. And we'll be here together to make that work happen. And I want to thank all the panel members for all your work, being there for each other. I know the last year has not been the easiest year for a lot of reasons, but also this work has been challenging. And I just appreciate all of you so much for being here, for doing this work. And we'll keep doing it. Yeah. Sarah, I see you unmuted. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering, I don't remember the procedure, but we have a few more minutes, I think. Can we, the panelists and the monitor, go into closed session? Is that allowed? Or when is that allowed?
As long as there aren't any, there's no public business discussed or any decisions made.
Correct. There will not be any of that.
Right. Okay.
And I'd only want to do it if everybody else can hang on for like 10 more minutes.
I'm okay with that if everyone else is. Great. Okay. In that case, Joey, do you want to, thank you again, members of the public. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for participating in this process. And we'll see you soon.
Thank you, everybody.
Just waiting to see.
All clear?
Okay, yeah, just us.
My topic is very direct. What is going on with Darren?
We're still recording.
What?
We're still recording.